Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a bit of a confession, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, something happened last week, and I'm not going to name names, to protect the innocent.
hmm
But I was put in a position where I had to make a call.
okay.
It was about a deadline for a project, and my gut, my absolute initial instinct, were just screaming at me, "Let it slide. Be a human being. They've had a rough week."
hmm The compassionate
It
response,
felt like the right thing to do, the only thing to do.
the benevolent approach.
Exactly. But then almost immediately, this other part of my brain it sort of woke up. You know the part that reads the
I
handbook.
know that part of the brain very, very well.
And it started whispering, if you do that, you are setting a terrible precedent.
Mm.
If you let this slide for person A, what do you possibly say to person B who stayed up all night to finish on time?
The classic ceiling stare moment. I know it well.
I honestly stared at my ceiling for an hour. It's
Uh,
awful. And it made me realize we have these two operating systems in our heads
Okay.
that are just completely incompatible.
Right. One says, be nice, and the other says, be fair. And they were at total war with each other. Today's deep dive is basically therapy for that specific headache.
Well, it's more than therapy. I'd say it's actually a survival guide.
A survival guide. I like that.
Because the source material we're unpacking today, it argues that this isn't just an annoyance. It's not just a scheduling conflict. This is the fundamental friction of living in a society.
Wow.
It's the tension between the heart and the system.
So the mission today, then, it isn't just how to be a good manager or how to be a good teacher. It's more like, how do I stop feeling guilty regardless of which choice I make?
Yes, that's it.
Because right now, if I choose kindness, I feel like a pushover. If I choose fairness, I feel like a robot. There's no winning.
That is the absolute core of it. We
Okay.
tend to lump all good behavior into one big bucket. We think, I want to be a good person, so I will be kind and I will be fair.
As if they're the same thing. As if they're always friends. But the mission today is to realize that often you literally cannot be both at the same time. The source material frames this perfectly.
How so?
It says we need to move beyond that gut feeling of just, it depends, and see if we can find a structured way to decide.
A framework.
A framework. Is it better to be kind? Or is it better to be fair? Or, and this is the real question, is that a false choice?
It really feels like an emotional tug of war.
Yeah.
On one side, you've got empathy. That's the kindness pulling you toward the specific person standing right in front of you with their specific story.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, you've got justice. That's fairness, pulling you toward consistent rules for everyone in the group.
And that is exactly why this is so difficult. It is not a choice between good and bad.
No.
If I asked you, do you want to be a puppy or a monster? That's a pretty easy choice.
Yeah, I'll take the puppy, thanks.
But this is a choice between good and good, between two virtues, and that's where the paralysis comes from.
So, okay, let's unpack this. We have a stack of notes here, and we're looking at moral philosophy as it applies to management, to relationships, to just being a person.
Right.
But before we pick a side, team kindness or team fairness,
Mm-hmm.
we really, really need to agree on what these words actually mean in this context.
Yes.
Because I think we use them interchangeably in casual conversation, but the source makes a very, very sharp distinction.
It does. And this distinction is the foundation for everything else we're going to discuss. I mean it. If we get this wrong, the rest of the hour just won't make sense.
All right, let's do it. Where do we start? Kindness.
Let's start with kindness. So the source defines kindness, and this is key, specifically as a response to a particular person.
Okay, wait, hang on. Unpack that for me. Why does the particular part matter so much? Can't I be kind to a whole stadium of people? Can't I be kind to, humanity?
You can have a kind disposition. In theory, yes. But think about the actual mechanism of a kind act. Kindness is about, I see you. I see your specific pain. I see that your dog died this morning. I see that you're struggling with this one math concept. It is deeply personal and specific. It requires zooming in on one person.
Okay, I follow that. It's high resolution. It's not a wide shot. It's looking at the individual pixels.
Exactly. The key words the source uses are things like gentleness, compassion, generosity, mercy, and comfort. But here is the crucial nuance that I found really, really interesting.
What's that?
Kindness is defined here as doing something not strictly required to help someone feel better or suffer less.
Not strictly required. Ah, that's the kicker.
That's the whole thing.
It's the extra mile. It's the grace. It's not in the contract.
Exactly. Kindness focuses on the exception to the rule. It looks at the individual standing right in front of you, that student, that employee, that friend, and it says, I see your pain. I see your specific situation. It is, at its heart, deeply personal.
Okay, so kindness is the heart. It's warm, it's specific. Now let's look at fairness. How does the source define that? Because in my head, sometimes fairness is just treating people nicely.
And that's where the trap is. That's where we get it all mixed up. According to our sources, fairness is the response to a principle or a standard,
Okay, so not a person.
not a person. If kindness is about the person, fairness is about the system. The key words here are equality, impartiality, justice, and my favorite, playing by the rules.
And the nuance there. What's the key detail for fairness?
The nuance is that fairness is about ensuring no one gets an unfair advantage or an unfair disadvantage. But here's the key difference. Fairness is blind.
Justice is blind. The classic image.
Precisely. It is intentionally blind to the specific quirks and stories of the individual in favor of the integrity of the group.
Huh.
So, fairness focuses on the rule. It looks at the whole group and says the same rules apply to everyone, regardless of who you are, how nice you are, or how sad your story is today. It requires zooming out.
So kindness is I see you, and fairness is I see the system.
Bingo. And that's why they clash. You can't zoom in on the individual and zoom out to see the whole system at the exact same time.
Now, usually, these overlap, right? Most of the time, being fair like paying someone what you promised them in their contract is also the kind thing to do.
99% of the time, they work together.
But we're not here for the 99%. We are looking for that friction point, the 1%.
The friction point is that specific moment where being kind to one person requires you to break the rule that protects everyone else.
That's it.
That is where the spark happens. That is where you have the teacher bumping the grade or the manager ignoring the late arrival. You can't do both. You have to choose.
Okay, so let's get into the arguments. We're going to structure this like I don't know, a courtroom debate.
I like it.
First, we are going to hear the case for prioritizing kindness. The argument for when in doubt, be kind. What is the first big point our source makes here?
So the first argument, and it's a powerful one, is what we can call the human element.
The human element.
The argument is basically this. Humans are people, not cases.
I love this one already. It appeals to my desire not to be a bureaucrat. It feels like the anti-corporate, anti-rules argument.
It is. It's the argument that says rules are abstract, rules are written on paper in an office somewhere. But people are messy. They're real.
Yeah.
The source points out that people aren't identical units. If we were manufacturing, say, toasters, fairness would be the only metric that matters.
Right. Every toaster has to toast the same way.
Every toaster needs to be the same. Every toaster needs to pop at the same time. If one toaster is slow, you fix it or you toss it. Simple.
But we aren't toasters.
We are not toasters. Humans have different histories, different struggles, and this is the phrase that I love, invisible burdens.
Invisible burdens. That phrase really stuck with me when I was reading the notes. You just don't know. You don't know what someone went through that morning to even get to work.
You have no idea.
You don't know the trauma they are carrying from years ago that's showing up today.
Precisely. Maybe that employee is late because their child is sick, or they are caring for an aging parent and the nurse didn't show up. Maybe that student is failing because they are working 2 jobs to support their family.
And a purely fair system doesn't care about any of that.
A strictly fair system looks at them and says, defective toaster, discard.
That's chilling when you put it like that.
It is, and that's the argument. Strict fairness can feel mechanical. It can feel cold and inhuman. It treats people like numbers in a system, like data points on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Kindness acknowledges that the system, no matter how well designed it is, doesn't and can't capture the full reality of a human life. So the argument here is that when in doubt, you choose the person over the rule.
Why?
Because the rule cannot feel pain, but the person can.
That's compelling. It's the argument against zero-tolerance policies, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Like when a school suspends a 7-year-old kid for bringing a plastic butter knife to cut their peach at lunch. Technically, it fits the zero-tolerance for weapons rule, but come on.
It's a peach.
It's a peach. And that's logic without humanity.
Yeah.
That is the system literally eating the person.
Yes, and the case for kindness says our primary job as humans is to prevent that from happening.
Okay, that's a strong opening argument. What's the second argument for kindness?
The second argument is a bit more environmental. It's what the source calls the buffering a harsh world argument.
Well, this one is immediately relatable. I feel like the world is harsh enough without my boss adding to it.
Right. The expert analysis here is that real life, just baseline, is already competitive. It's unforgiving It's stressful.
It's a grinder.
It's a total grinder. The economy is tough. Traffic is bad. The news is terrifying. The baseline level of stress is already high. The argument for kindness, then, is that we need a buffer. We need soft places to land.
Yeah. I mean, if work itself is hard and the commute to work is hard and the news on the radio during the commute is bad,
Mm-hmm.
do I really need my manager to be a stickler about me being 3 minutes late?
Exactly that. Kindness acts as that necessary shock absorber. It reminds us that we aren't just cogs in a machine fighting for survival.
Right.
The perspective here is we need more kindness, not more rule obsession. Sometimes you just need a break, not a rule book. You need a little grace.
I think we've all felt that surge of gratitude when someone cuts us a break we didn't necessarily earn, but we desperately needed.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when a police officer gives you a warning instead of a speeding ticket, you remember that for years. It changes your whole day.
And that feeling, that memory, leads directly to the third argument for kindness, which is all about the long game.
And what's that?
Building trust and building relationships.
Right. Because you can be right and be completely alone. You can win the battle of the rule book and lose the war for your team's heart.
Perfectly said. If you are technically correct all the time, but you're emotionally distant and rigid, you will lose people. When you err on the side of kindness, people feel seen.
Seen and valued.
And valued. The mechanism described in the source is that when you extend mercy, when you offer that grace, trust grows, connections deepen. It's like an investment in a relationship.
It creates loyalty. It absolutely does.
Yep.
If my boss helps me out when I'm in a jam, I'm going to run through a wall for them later.
Yes. But if your boss is always the fairness police, just quoting the handbook at you,
You might respect them, but you don't trust them.
you might respect their consistency, but you won't feel safe with them. You're not going to go to them with your problems because you know you'll just get a lecture about the rules.
Yeah.
And the source is clear. In personal contexts, family, friends, close relationships, preserving the relationship itself is often far more important than perfect adherence to abstract rules.
Okay, so that's the case for kindness. Humans over systems, buffering a harsh world, and building trust. And honestly, I'm sold. It sounds
It
perfect.
sounds pretty good, doesn't
It
it?
sounds great. We should just be kind. Why are we even debating this? Why do we even have rules? Let's just all be nice to each other.
Well, hold on. I know it sounds warm and fuzzy, and it is, but now we have to flip the table. Because if we stop here, we are missing half the picture.
The more dangerous half, you said earlier.
And I think, actually, the more dangerous half.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
We need to hear the case for prioritizing fairness. The argument for when in doubt, be fair. And I have to say, this section of the source material was the biggest aha moment for me personally.
Really.
Yes, because we so often think of fairness as the boring, cold, bureaucratic option. But the source argues that fairness is actually a shield. It's a form of protection.
Okay, so this is argument one for fairness. The protection of the vulnerable and unpopular.
But wait, I'm confused. I thought kindness protected the vulnerable.
That's the common assumption. It's what feels intuitive. But let's really, really look at it. If you strip away fairness, if you get rid of the rules, what are you left with?
Your own judgment.
Your own judgment, which means you are left with decisions based on bias, favoritism, and your mood that day.
Right. If there are no rules, it's just whatever the boss feels like doing today. And that's terrifying.
Who benefits from that kind of world? Who benefits from a world without rules? The source is very specific here. Kindness creates a loophole. A loophole.
And who slips through that loophole? People with charm, people with social power, people who are similar to the decision maker.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see exactly where this is going.
Let's call it the charisma loophole. If I'm a manager and I decide to be kind and just ignore the rules, who am I most likely to be kind to?
Someone you like.
Probably the employee who laughs at my jokes, the one who supports the same football team as me, the one who reminds me of myself when I was that age.
That is deeply uncomfortable to admit, but you're absolutely right. The slick talker gets the kindness. The charismatic person talks their way out of the missed deadline.
Exactly. And who pays the price for that kindness?
The other people. The people I don't click with.
The quiet person, the awkward person, the person who just comes in, does their work meticulously, and goes home without chatting about their weekend.
The introvert.
The introvert. The person who maybe doesn't speak the language perfectly or doesn't understand all the cultural references. Fairness protects the quiet person. It protects the disliked person. It protects the outsider who isn't friends with the boss.
That completely flips the script. We usually think of kindness as helping the underdog, but you're saying that in practice, kindness often helps the teacher's pet.
Correct. Kindness without the guardrails of fairness can just become a tool for rewarding the people we already like. Fairness levels the playing field so the teacher's pet doesn't have an automatic advantage over the kid who sits in the back and doesn't talk much.
So fairness ensures you don't need to be liked to be treated right.
You just have to follow the rules. In that sense, fairness is the ultimate protector of the underdog.
That is a powerful idea. And it leads directly into the second argument for fairness, which is what the source calls the corrosion of resentment.
Yes. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of the other people. Imagine you are the employee who didn't get the special treatment. You showed up on time every single day.
Yeah.
You hit all your deadlines. You made sacrifices. Maybe you missed a family dinner to finish a project because you wanted to play by the rules.
Okay, I'm picturing it. I'm the diligent worker bee. I'm doing everything right.
Then you see your colleague, who is maybe a bit more fun to hang out with, getting kindness. They come in late, but the boss just laughs it off. They miss a deadline, but they get an extension because, they're going through a lot.
I would be furious.
Right.
Absolutely furious. I would feel like a chump.
You feel like a chump for following the rules.
Mm.
And that is exactly the psychological impact the source describes. The thought that creeps into your head is, my effort doesn't matter. Only closeness or pity matters.
And that kills culture.
Yeah.
You cannot build a team on that foundation.
It absolutely destroys it. Resentment is like rust. It's quiet, but it just eats away at everything. Fairness allows everyone to know where they stand. It creates a stable psychological contract. If I do X, then I get Y. If that contract is broken by kindness to someone else, the whole system feels rigged. And when people feel the game is rigged, they stop playing.
It's the difference between a meritocracy and what feels like just a popularity contest.
Perfectly put. And that brings us to the third big argument for fairness, the responsibility of power.
And this one applies to specific roles, right? We're
Mhm.
talking about judges, teachers, managers, referees, people in charge.
Yes. If you are just a private citizen, your kindness is pretty low risk. But if you are a judge, a teacher, or a manager, your decisions affect a system, not just an individual.
The stakes are higher.
Much higher. The principle here is that kindness that ignores fairness in these roles looks like corruption.
Corruption.
Yeah.
That's a heavy word. We usually associate that with, like, bribery and money.
It is heady, but I think it's accurate. Think about a judge. If a judge is kind to a defendant because the defendant reminds them of their son or they went to the same school,
That's a huge problem.
that is corruption. It might feel like empathy to the judge in that moment, but it's a profound injustice to the victim and to society as a whole.
That's a great point. Or if a referee refuses to call a foul on a star player because he feels bad for them or wants them to win.
He's ruining the game. He's failing at his one job, which is to be impartial.
Right.
Prioritizing fairness in these roles maintains legitimacy.
Yeah.
It prevents the abuse of power. It ensures that the system works for everyone, not just the people the person in power happens to like that day.
So we have a real deadlock here. We've built a really strong case on both sides.
We have.
Kindness is necessary for humanity, for flexibility, and for trust. But fairness is necessary for justice, for protection against bias, and for stability. We can't just pick one.
Well,
If I pick only kindness, I run a popularity contest full of resentment. If I pick only fairness, I run a cold, brittle prison.
so you can't just pick one. And that is why the source offers a tool for resolving this. It isn't about flipping a coin every time. It's all about context.
Okay, Section 4. Context is king. The source suggests something called the which hat are you wearing rule. I love practical tools like this.
This is maybe the most practical thing for the listener to take away from our whole deep dive today. You have to distinguish between your personal sphere and your institutional sphere.
It's different sphere.
You essentially have two hats, and you need to know which one is on your head at any given moment.
Okay, let's break down the personal sphere first. This is when I'm just me, right? Hanging out with friends or family, not in a formal role.
Right. You are at a dinner party. You are at the grocery store. You are with your siblings. In this sphere, your primary responsibility is to your own character and your own relationships.
Okay.
The default setting here, the source argues, should almost always be kindness.
Give us some examples of how this plays out.
Okay. Let's say a friend owes you $20. A week goes by, they haven't paid you. What do?
Well, fairness would be sending them an itemized invoice with interest.
Right. And if you do that, you're weird. And you're probably losing a friend over $20.
Yeah, that relationship is over.
The kindness approach is you let it slide. Or you gently remind them, but tell them, hey, don't worry about it if things are tight. Or another example, someone makes a rude comment at a dinner party. Fairness might be to verbally destroy them to even the score.
But kindness lets it slide to keep the peace.
Exactly. Here, mercy builds the bond. You aren't managing a system, you're managing a heart-to-heart connection. The relationship is the most important thing.
Okay, that makes total sense. In my personal life, I want to be known as generous and forgiving. But then we have to put on the other hat.
Then we put on the other hat, the public or institutional sphere.
So this is when you step into a role.
This is when you are an employer, an official, a teacher, a leader, a coach. Here, you are not just you. You are a representative of a group and, crucially, of the integrity of a system.
And the default setting here.
The default setting here must be fairness.
So this is hiring procedures, grading papers, legal judgments, things like that.
Exactly. Let's take hiring. This is the classic example. Imagine your best friend applies for a job at your company, and you are on the hiring committee.
Oh, this is the classic nightmare scenario. I'm already sweating.
Your friend really needs the job. They're struggling. Kindness is screaming in your ear. Hire them. Help your friend. That's what friends do.
But if I do that,
Yeah.
and there was someone else,
If you do that and there was another candidate who was more qualified, you have just committed an act of injustice. You have used your institutional power to help your friend at the expense of a qualified stranger.
you've crossed the streams.
You've crossed the streams. The qualified stranger gets screwed because they didn't happen to know you.
Right.
In the institutional sphere, you have to avoid favoritism to respect the rights of the many. You have to take off the friend hat and put on the hiring manager hat. The roles have different rules.
The tricky part, and I see this all the time, is that we often want to bring friend logic into boss roles.
That is the source of almost all management drama, isn't it?
I think so. We want to be the cool boss. We want to be the understanding teacher. We try to apply personal sphere logic, which is based on kindness and mercy, to an institutional role.
And it causes chaos. It creates that resentment we talked about.
So knowing which hat you are wearing helps you decide which default setting to use. But the source goes even deeper than that. It explores what happens when we get this wrong in a really destructive way.
Yes. Section 5 is called The Dark Side of Good Intentions.
This sounds ominous.
I think this is where the source really challenges us to look in the mirror. Let's talk about when kindness becomes unfairness. The source has a great name for it. The toxic nice.
The toxic nice. That sounds like a great band name, but I know it's a very serious management issue.
It's a huge issue. The expert analysis here is about how misapplied kindness actually causes harm. The source gives two specific, powerful examples. First, the struggling student.
Okay, walk us through this one.
Imagine a teacher, let's call her Mrs. Higgins. She has a student, Leo. Leo's a sweet kid, he tries really hard, but he just isn't getting the math. He fails the final test.
Okay.
Mrs. Higgins looks at his sad face. She knows his parents are putting a lot of pressure on him, and she thinks, I can't fail him. It will crush his confidence. It's the kind thing to do. I'll just bum him up to a passing grade.
She thinks she's being an angel. She goes home that night feeling like she's saved him.
But look at the consequence, the long-term consequence. She passes him to the next level of math. Now Leo is in advanced math.
And he's totally lost.
He doesn't know the basics. He is completely, utterly lost. He fails spectacularly. Or worse, maybe he squeaks by and graduates and gets a job where he needs those foundational skills, and he gets fired because he can't do the work.
So her kindness was actually a setup for a much bigger failure down the road.
Exactly. She prioritized her own comfort in the moment. She didn't want to see him sad over his actual long-term education.
The kindness was actually a form of sabotage.
Aha!
It's a rough thought.
It is. But it's true. Now, what's the second example?
The late employee.
Yes, the late employee. Let's call him Dave. Dave is a nice guy, but he's always late. And he always has a reason. The traffic, the alarm didn't go off, the dog ate the car keys.
There's always a story.
Always a story. The manager, trying to be a kind and understanding boss, says, It's okay, Dave. I get it. Just try to be on time tomorrow.
And meanwhile, the rest of the team is picking up the slack. They're answering Dave's phone for the first hour of the day.
The rest of the team is covering his shift. They're staying late because Dave came in late and the work still has to get done. They're watching Dave get paid the same amount of money for doing less work.
They start to hate Dave. But even more than that, they start to lose respect for the manager.
Resentment grows. The system feels broken. And the key takeaway from the source here is just brilliant. It's this. Kindness to one specific person can be an act of unfairness to the group.
That is a quote to put on the wall in every manager's office. Kindness to one can be unfairness to many.
A mature view requires asking these questions. Kind to whom? Fair across whom? And what are the hidden costs of my kindness?
Who is paying the price for my niceness?
Right. If your kindness creates a victim elsewhere on the team, it might not be kindness. It might just be weakness. It might be that you are afraid of the conflict of telling Dave to get his act together.
Oof, weakness. And that hurts, but it's so often true. Often we are kind because we are cowards. We don't want to be the bad guy.
Exactly. But we have to look at the flip side, too. The source is very balanced. We also have to talk about when fairness becomes cruelty.
The rigid system.
The rigid system. This is the bureaucracy nightmare. This is fairness without a soul.
Fairness without humanity.
The examples here are things like those zero-tolerance policies that punish minor mistakes with the same severity as major ones, or refusing any flexibility for a real human crisis like illness or grief, because rules are rules.
Yeah, the classic line, I'm sorry your mom died, but the handbook says you only get 3 bereavement days. If you take a 4th, you're fired.
Right. That is fairness morphing into rigidity and blindness to human vulnerability. The analysis here is that often people use fairness as an excuse not to care.
What do you mean by that?
It's just easier to point to a rule book than to sit down and engage with a crying human being. That's messy. That's uncomfortable.
It's emotional laziness. The book says no, so I don't have to feel anything or do the hard work of finding a creative solution.
In this case, it becomes about control, not justice. It's about checking boxes while crushing spirits.
Okay, so we have seen the traps on both sides. The toxic nice creates chaos, resentment, and incompetence. The rigid system creates cruelty, disconnect, and fear. We need a way to thread the needle.
We do?
And the source provides a synthesis in the final section, a way forward.
This is the resolution strategy. And it comes back to that question, is it a false choice? Can we do both? And the source suggests a model that I find really powerful. Be fair in the structure, but kind in the spirit.
Fair in the structure, kind in the spirit. I love the sound of that. But it's a little abstract. Let's unpack what that actually means in practice.
The definition is this. Keep the decision or the standard consistent. That's the fairness, the structure part. But deliver that decision with empathy and support. That's the kindness, the spirit part.
Okay, we need concrete examples. I want to role play this a bit because I think the tone of voice and the specific words you use matter so much here.
They matter immensely.
Let's go back to the workplace. An employee asks you for a raise, but the budget just isn't there. It's a hard no.
Okay, let's do the bad version, all fairness. The robot approach. I'll be the boss, you're the employee.
Okay. Hey, I'd like to talk about a raise.
No, the budget for this quarter is closed. Request denied. Go back to work.
Brutal. That's incredibly efficient, but it's brutal. I feel like a cog in a machine. I feel completely devalued.
Right. Now let's do the bad version, all kindness. The people pleaser jellyfish approach.
Hey, I'd like to talk about a raise.
Oh man, you totally deserve it. You're the best. I feel so bad. Let me see what I can do. Maybe I can move some money around. I don't know. Ask me again next week.
Ugh, that's almost worse. You're giving me false hope. And when you can't deliver, which you probably can't, I'm going to be even madder. And I don't trust you anymore.
Exactly. You've broken the trust. Now let's try the hybrid fair structure, kind spirit.
Hey, I'd like to talk about a raise.
Thanks for coming to me. I've looked at the numbers and the honest answer is no. We cannot increase the budget for this role right now. That is a hard boundary and I can't change it.
Okay, so that's the fair structure. It's a clear no.
However, I know you've been working incredibly hard and I want to get you to that next level. So let's sit down this week and map out exactly what metrics you need to hit so that when we go into the next budget cycle, I can make an ironclad case for a yes.
Oh, that feels so much better. The answer was still no. You didn't bend the rule.
But I feel supported. I feel like you're on my team, even though you just denied my request. Exactly. The outcome is fair. It's consistent with the budget and the rules. But the process is kind. It's supportive. It's about coaching.
Let's try one more because this is so helpful. The discipline scenario.
Yeah.
You have to suspend a student or maybe fire an employee for a clear violation.
Okay. The fair structure part is non-negotiable. You uphold the consequence. If the rule is a 3-day suspension, they get a 3-day suspension. You don't wiggle out of it because you feel bad.
And the kind spirit.
The kind spirit part is how you deliver it. You explain it without humiliation or contempt. You treat the person with dignity while enforcing the rule.
So you don't say.
You don't say, you messed up, you're a disappointment, get out of my sight.
Right.
You say, this is the consequence for that action. The rule is clear, and for this system to work for everyone, we have to follow it. I know this is a hard moment for you. I want you to take this time to reflect, and when you come back, we are going to start fresh. I believe you can move past this.
You separate the action from the person. The action
Yeah.
was wrong. The person is still a person.
Yes. The source uses a great metaphor to tie this all together. It says, fairness is the backbone, kindness is the heart.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, fairness provides the frame, it provides the structure, it ensures you don't exploit or ignore people, it holds the body upright so it doesn't collapse.
But the backbone alone is just a skeleton.
Exactly. Kindness fills the frame with humanity, with blood, with warmth. It ensures the backbone doesn't just turn into a fossil. You need both to be a fully functioning human leader.
That is such a helpful visual. If you are all heart and no backbone, you're just a jellyfish.
A jellyfish? Perfect.
You just flop around, you have no structure, you get washed away by whatever tide comes along, people walk all over you.
And if you are all backbone and no heart, you're a fossil.
Hard, brittle, and frankly dead.
Nothing grows there. No relationship can flourish.
The goal is to be a living, breathing entity. A vertebrate, strong spine, warm heart.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener, we've been on quite a journey here.
We have.
We started with the conflict. The teacher and the manager sweating over a tough decision. We realized that kindness focuses on the individual and fairness focuses on the group. We saw that unchecked kindness can be unfair to the group, creating that charisma loophole, and that unchecked fairness can be cruel to the individual.
And we found the middle path through context. Knowing which hat you are wearing, personal or institutional and method fair structure, kind spirit.
It sounds so simple when we lay it out like that, but I think in the heat of the moment, it's incredibly hard to practice. It requires so much self-control not to just react emotionally.
It does. It requires real emotional intelligence. It's much, much easier to just default to one mode, to just be the nice guy, the jellyfish, or to be the hard ass, the fossil.
Yeah.
Being both is a constant balancing act. It takes energy. It takes practice.
The source leaves us with some really provocative closing questions for self-reflection. And I want to read these out because I want you, the listener, to actually pause and think about them. Don't just let these wash over you. First one. Where in your life are you tempted to bend fairness in the name of kindness? And who might be quietly harmed by that?
That's the question for the people pleasers out there. That's for the hosts of the world. Are you being nice to one person at the expense of your team? Who is the silent victim of your niceness? Who is the quiet employee who's picking up the slack for the person you're being kind to?
That's a tough one. Okay, second question. Where are you hiding behind rules to avoid the discomfort of actually seeing someone's pain?
And that's the question for the rule followers, the fossils. Are you using fairness as a shield to be lazy? Are you hiding behind policy so you don't have to deal with messy human emotions? Are you using the rules as an excuse not to be a human being?
Those are tough, tough questions.
They are, but asking them is how we get better. It's how we find that balance.
So here is my final challenge to you, the listener. Find one concrete situation this week, just one, where you have to make a decision involving another person where this tension exists. And try to apply the fair structure, kind spirit model. Be the backbone and the heart. Actually script it out in your head before you say it. Here is the hard, fair boundary, but here is the warm, kind support that comes with it.
It might feel a little creative. It might feel uncomfortable at first. It won't feel as natural as just reacting.
But it might also be the most effective and humane thing you do all week.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. You're going to wobble. You're going to lean too far into kindness one day and be a little too rigid the next.
It's a practice.
It's a practice. It's about understanding the trade-offs and always trying to find your way back to that centered place.
Absolutely. Thanks for unpacking this with us. This has been a deep dive into the moral balance of kindness and fairness. We'll see you next time.